I'm Sally Mills from La Volta, and welcome to Digital Bullets. We put together a series of questions about issues and developments within the digital sector. We've asked some senior people and industry experts to give us their point of view. We've also given them 20 seconds to answer the questions or they get the chop. Hope you enjoy. What are the most significant one or two trends shaping digital and convergent media that you can identify at the moment? What will their impact be in the medium term, say 2 years?
The bad trend at the moment is towards commoditisation, CPA and very cheap pricing, sort of race to the bottom stuff. I think the good trend that's been there for a long time that we'll see accelerate is more and more personal products for consumers. So, you know, whether you do the work yourself or whether the company whose site you're using does the work for you, coming up with more relevant websites and information for consumers remains a terrific opportunity that is at the moment underexploited.
I think we'll see a huge change in audience behaviour and audience usage of the internet as being an entertainment medium. At the moment, it's more transactional and informational, and I think the moment that we start to see emotional experiences on the website, we'll see it translate into something that is really an entertainment medium, and we'll start to see narratives and storylines being played out online in some pretty exciting and engaging ways.
I believe that traditional media is dying. You have only started seeing, with the current downturn, a lot of big companies are now pulling their traditional media budgets and moving them online, purely because online allows you to track and work out your ROIs, while in traditional media it doesn't.
The most significant trend for me is the consumption, is media consumption. So it's the consumer behaviour. I mean, everything that we do in digital media and in fact in advertising has got to be centred around the consumer, whether it's consumer psychology, consumer insights, reaching and engaging the consumer, influencing them to buy my brand or whatever it is. So the biggest trend is actually keeping pace with the change in their behaviour, because it is happening so fast. So I think it's about consumer behaviour, and then I think it's about the convergence of platforms to provide a truly integrated media solution for agencies and advertisers.
Time shift and control of media consumption. And so the opportunity here is twofold. First of all, consumers get it their way when they want it, so there's more flexibility, obviously, to run their lives. But the real opportunity is for the content providers, especially those that dominate in one channel versus another. There's an opportunity now to migrate that content to other areas and to other channels. The challenge will be how to monetize it in those other channels, and also how to measure it, because the audience will get more and more fragmented. And some of those channels are obviously used to large audiences at one set time, and that's all going to change. But that's the opportunity.
I think the most important thing is the shift of consumption patterns away from traditional media, away from TV, over to digital formats. And second to that, I think it's actually a shift in the consumption patterns of people, of how people use their mobile devices.
Interaction with mobile is obviously a major one. Again, it really depends on how that develops into the future as to what sort of impact that'll have. We will see new applications being developed, new ways in interacting, new information sources, better speeds. I think that will all contribute to a greater experience or better experience for the user. I think that analytics has always been very important, but I think it's becoming even more important on what we're providing analytics on.
At a more strategic level, it's actually the convergence of your digital thinking with your non-digital thinking. That's the most exciting thing that will evolve. And it's the thing that we've always, wanted and talked about, and, half or probably every agency in Australia is saying that they already do, but there's very few examples of that actually happening effectively.
The answer is mobile. That's the most prospective thing that's happening in digital, whether that be netbooks, that are smaller computers, but basically smaller devices, more mobile devices is the most important thing, or most exciting thing. And then the next thing, unfortunately, is social media, because it's all engrossing, but the fact that there's no money around, I tend to think it's going to probably go a bit higher and then come back down.
I think the biggest development at the moment is the rollout of the fibre optic network. allegedly to every home in Australia, but certainly in the metro areas in the shorter term. What it's going to do is it's going to change the purpose and the way you use your television. The television is going to be the centre of the home, and I've got a prediction is that don't be surprised if the television you're watching in 5 years' time is an Apple television.
The fact that everybody is a publisher now is, I think, a very important attribute as well. We're no longer reliant on a controlled or managed message. The truth comes out, and sometimes the truth hurts. But the fact that everyone is a publisher and we have a democratisation of content is a critical force.
We're going to start seeing, whether it's mobile or not, a trend moving towards the idea of more augmented reality. I think that we're going to start seeing not just QM codes or QR codes. I think we're going to start seeing people being able to take photos of things and have that add value to it. So I think we'll start to see augmented reality as a way of doing almost product shows without having to actually look at the product. I think the other trend really is that I think consumers are really multitasking in ways that we're not taking into account. So they are sitting in front of their television, on their computer and on their mobile phones at the same time. They are consuming multiple forms of media, and they're moving their consumption from one to the other during the same thing. I know people now who go to a cinema and see a movie, come home and BitTorrent it down to their computer so they can watch it again, expect to see it on their mobile phone, and then like it so much they make their own mash-up versions that they put on YouTube to promote it to people.
The very fact that this is going mainstream, and it's not necessarily obvious, but the integration of digital everything into everybody's everyday lives, into the broader business community, it's an inexorable marching on that's happening. We always talk about how fast our industry moves, but in some respects it still moves relatively slowly, to the point where people they're not noticing that this is just becoming more and more mainstream. But you just have to walk down any street in the Western world and increasingly sort of developing world to see that digital is integrating itself into our lives at every possible level.